So the heaven and the earth is completed in 3 days, and the wherewithal for life as well. You know, there's the green herb, there's plants growing. The 4th day, despite the fact there was already light, creates the sun and the moon. Now the sun, with its energy, of course, takes over the propagation of the plants. There was light before, but now the light's going to be determined by the sun and the moon. It's sort of set up a clockwork situation, times and seasons. So in some sense the earth is now complete in itself from the point of view of what he's going to do, which is introduce life in the next 2 days. Now the 5th day has, in a sense, some confusion in that there's creatures living in the waters, but I think because they're in the waters, they're not breathing from the writer's point of view, so they're not living. You see, the plants weren't classified as living. Now this is very convenient from the food point of view, but there you go. Not sure here, because it does refer to these things in the sea as living creatures. Anyway, when he gets to the 6th day, he makes the land living creatures, which are the ones that, if you like, apparently breathe, that I was thinking of, and of course man himself. So those come together on the 6th day, and you can see man as the pinnacle of the land animals, if you like, but the sea creatures are in some senses earlier. And of course the 7 stands for, Sabbath. It's all been completed, it's rest, and it's all good, and the final achievement. God says it's all good. In some sense, the perfection, or possibly not a word perfection, simply meant completion originally. So I have it, you could say, Gnostically speaking, my particular view is that the world, perhaps in particular our world, is set up in a situation where God can not be obvious. It ticks over like clockwork now, the sun and the moon, giving days and nights and seasons and so on. And man, when he comes, is therefore not by any means certain of the existence of God, any more than the animals in a sense. Or if we take the Adam story of his creation, he's going to be made from the animals. I'm not sure that bit's biblical. No, he made him from the dust of the earth, didn't he? There seems to be 2 stories creating the creation. There's something of man being an advanced creation of what he's got from animals. And we have the general notion that the interesting thing is that we know good and evil, and animals certainly know pain and suffering and compared to plenty and so on, life and vigour. In some sense, our ability to conceive and think seems to be extremely advanced compared to most animals. Seems to be. It's hard to tell because we can't carry on verbal chats with them. We may alter that, of course, with our technology in the coming years. And then we can discover much more about their thinking capacities. But anyway, the number of 6 is of man, and the number of 4 is taken to be of the earth, including its resources, vegetation and so on. Number 3 plus the 4th day of automatic times and seasons ticking over. So from the point of view of what's going to be taken as life, in the sea, on the land, and man in particular, the earth is completed by the end of the 4th day. I mean, including the vegetation and the land to stand on, of course. Not just the seas around. The 5th day has the creatures in the sea, and the 6th day, the creatures on the land with man. Of course, if you don't treat this Gnostically and you just treat it literally, you know, the creation story, well, I mean, Gnostically speaking, we've no idea what a day means. And even then, it's because we're trying to be literalist about it. That's not the point, is it? We're talking about priorities and symbology, something that helps us organize our spiritual understanding of where we are in the order of things. And of course it puts man extremely high. It's the last word in creation. Then God rests because he's done, he's achieved what he wanted. So that's what the story is really telling us, isn't it? The whole purpose of things, from physical manifestations, well, chaos to begin with, I suppose, and order, integrity, creativity in, what you do with the atoms, if you like, and the energies of the universe, all the thoughts. One might think of a continuum between thought through energy to matter. And God's somewhere at the, well, he's all of it, but he's master of the show, isn't he, in the creation story? That's the whole point, isn't it? And you don't need to be too much of a Gnostic to grasp that. I think most religions pretty well insist on God being the creator. Surprisingly, they don't all see it as the creator God necessarily being the highest God. And the creator God, in some sense, may have reorganized the chaos, but a higher God is the real foundation. A pure ethics, if you like. Something higher than thought is perhaps, well, I'm inclined to say emotion, values, the bedrock of of your character that manifests in the way it does. And some people do manifest, don't they? Presumably chaotic. Anyway, we won't go into that. Yes. So, enough said. As we know, creation myths were rife in ancient times, and there may well have been some development of the stories one way and another, and interchanging of ideas, and not to be dismissed because of that. Not to be dismissed, but certainly not to be worshipped. I say certainly, I mean, yes, almost certainly. Not quite, not quite. It's not so important to us as the hope of life eternal, is it? I mean, being very self-centered, that's of major interest to us. And the creation story reflects that. And in some sense points to a crowning glory of sabbatical, peace, rest. God is the one that works. Nobody else, really. Oh, no, well, some of it's delegated, of course, to Adam and so on, and presumably because it will bless him in so doing. Do you enjoy keeping the garden? Well, you'll know how Adam felt then. It's rather nice to be looking after paradise, isn't it? So in general we'd say it speaks of the hopes of man, puts himself high up the importance list and second only to God. And the angels are in there somewhere or other, but we didn't mention them. I think angels come along, well, really, from Persia. The understanding of angels comes basically Persian, I think. But then, of course, you could say the understanding of the Hebrew religion must, Abraham comes from Ur of the Chaldees, which is, Euphrates, Tigris-Euphrates area, Persia, as we think of it, overall. Although any particular ascending group there would have had its own name, like Assyrian and all that sort of thing. Medes, Persians, Scythians. Thank you, Dad.